The fiery sun was sinking below the horizon, coloring the Arizona desert in shades of copper and blood. The wind carried dust as if whispering ancient prayers of dead warriors long forgotten. Stone giants, canyons, and cliffs stood like sentinels of time, casting long shadows on the sand where horse and barefoot footprints remained. On the horizon, two men moved slowly. He was an Apache named Coasati, tall, silent, with a mop of black hair braided into a braid adorned with hawk feathers. His face was riddled with scars, each with its own story. She was Clara, a young white woman in a tattered but still elegant dress, with pale skin and a tired look. Her feet were scabbed bloody, but she walked beside him, not as a prisoner, more like a shadow of his fate. An old Apache voice, like an echo from the past, sounded over these images.
They say love and a bullet fly equally fast, but love doesn't always hit the heart of the one it's aimed at. This is not a story of victory, nor is it a story of mercy. This is a story of flame, captivity, and will. A story of a warrior taking a woman as a trophy and kept her as his soul.
Clouds covered the sky. A gust of wind blew away the last ray of light, and the silhouettes of the two travelers disappeared into the sandy haze. Arizona. Summer. The scorching sun scorches the earth. The smell of smoke hangs in the air like a warning of impending trouble. Black smoke billows in the distance. It's a migrant village. About 20 houses surrounded by wooden fences. Here live families fleeing the war, dreaming of a quiet life in a new land. Among them are the family of Lieutenant Grayson, his wife and daughter Clara. Early in the morning, they heard the stomping of hooves. Birds flew out of the trees. Dogs howled as if before a storm. The attack was sudden. The Apaches moved like ghosts, lightning fast, silent, with the precision of predators. Coasati was a young warrior who knew no fear. He was among the first to leap over the trellis. His face expressed neither rage nor exultation, only concentration. His eyes were not searching for gold or weapons, they were searching for fear and power. The settlement went up in flames. The screams of the women, the gunshots, the neighing of the horses blended into a cacophony of terror. But in the midst of this inferno, Coasati spotted her, Clara. She was trying to get the child out of the burning house. He saw her fingers trembling, her dress billowing at the edge. He didn't kill her, not because he pitied her, because something about her made him stop. Maybe in her eyes, maybe in her posture. She wasn't screaming. She was looking right at him. He walked over to her and snatched the child out of her arms. The boy was about 5 years old, handed him to another warrior. Then, without a word, he grabbed Clara's hand and led her away from the fire. They walked off toward the hills, into the sunset, to where Apache territory began. He led her without turning around. She did not resist, but with each step, her breathing grew heavier, not from fear. It was anger. When the camp was behind them, Clara finally spoke.
Do you think you've won?
She said quietly.
You just stole.
Coasati stopped. He looked at her for the first time, not as prey, but as an equal. She didn't look away. A gust of wind parted her hair.
You are not a trophy,
He said.
You are fire.
He didn't know where those words came from. But from that moment on, everything changed. 2 days had passed. Clara walked deep into what the white man's map called no man's land, but the Apaches called it the breath of the earth. There were no roads here, only trails made by animals and old symbols carved into the rocks, traces of ancestors who had disappeared into the sands of time. Coasati did not speak, only walked. Clara could feel his gaze even when he was behind her. He walked as if he knew where he was leading, and she walked on, not knowing whether death or something else awaited her. They reached an Apache village, tucked away in a valley among the stone slopes. There were no fences, no bastions, just teepees, campfires, and children playing with dog puppies. As soon as the pair entered the village, silence hung. The women froze, clutching their infants to their breasts. The men rose from their knees, picking up their weapons. Clara felt that she was a stranger here, and yet she didn't stop. She didn't hide. She didn't beg. She walked with her head held high. And Coasati did not let go of her hand, as if he knew that if he did, she would disappear. The tribal elder stepped out of the shadows. His skin was the color of earth, his eyes like ashes in an extinguished fire. He took his time to speak.
You brought a white man's woman into the village,
He said without raising his voice.
Why?
Because she is not afraid. Because she is fire.
The old man was silent for a long time. Then he nodded.
Then let her live with women. If she's fire, let her burn. But if it burns, you'll be the first one it burns.
So Clara stayed in the village. She lived with the women, learned to make fire without matches, to sew clothes from leather, to cook with wild grain. For the first few days, she was silent. She listened, learned. She studied their language, their gestures, their looks. The women avoided her at first. Then they looked at her. Then they taught her. Children were the first to laugh around her. The men were still reserved, but without animosity. Only one girl, Lua, threw a pebble at her feet every time they met. She had been promised to Coasati, and she knew it wasn't like that now. One night, Clara walked to the river. The moon reflected in the water like a mirror of the past. She sang, quietly, an old ballad from the banks of the Mississippi.
You have beautiful songs.
Came a voice. Coasati was standing by a tree.
Why didn't you kill me?
She asked. Coasati was silent for a long time.
I did not know that you would live in me.
He answered. Clara looked away. She didn't know how to understand it, but she did. Something in her was beginning to change, cracking, melting. On the third day after the full moon, he came to the village. Mezakoi, Coasati's older brother, the chief of the neighboring clan. His shadow fell longer than all the wigwams of the village combined. Face like stone, eyes like obsidian with which a buffalo skin was cut. He came on horseback, not alone. With him were warriors hardened by battles with Texas Rangers and Northern soldiers. He got off his horse without even looking back at the village. When he saw Clara, he stopped. She was just handing out treats to the children. Her laughter stopped when his gaze fell on her.
What is this? Why is the woman of the enemy eating our food? Why is her odor among our children?
This is my choice.
Yours? Our father fell by the bullet of a white officer. Mother was burned in their caravan. And you? Bring their flesh and blood into the home of our people.
She is not a weapon, nor is she an enemy.
Yen, she is a sign of your weakness. Either you get rid of her, or I'll do it myself. Tonight.
He turns around and disappears into the elder's teepee. Late at night, when the fires are out, Clara leaves the tent. She walks barefoot, trying not to make any noise, but she is caught.
She tried to leave, then she's dangerous.
A circle gathers. The bonfire in the center of the village is rekindled. The people are tense, ready for the trial.
Nonbadu, she is under my protection.
Then you're against us.
I am against us becoming the ones who burn women to prove our power.
Silence. Then one of the elders nods quietly. Clara is released. But there are shadows in the eyes of the men. At night, Coasati and Clara leave the village. They go to the caves. In the cave, the place of the echo, the crackling of the fire, moonlight streams into the narrow entrance. Clara sits with her arms around her knees. Coasati is across from her.
Why did you do it? You could have lost everything.
I didn't lose it.
What did you find?
My fear.
I thought you weren't afraid of anything.
I thought the same thing. Before you.
He looks at her directly, not as a prisoner, as an equal.
I hated you.
I know.
But now, I don't know who.
She slowly places her hand over his. Their fingers touch, tentatively, like the wings of birds taking flight for the first time. The flame between them trembles, and in that trembling is anxiety, the beginning of something alive, something that used to be called hate, but now is slowly being born as hope. They were on their way back to the village by dawn. The journey had been long and arduous, but there was no longer silence between them. There was something more, unbreakable, like the roots of a cactus in dry ground. When they arrived, the village greeted them without a word. No one touched Clara. Not even Lua threw a stone. That same night, Coasati approached her by the fire. In his hands, a small leather pouch. He opened it and pulled out a necklace of bones, feathers, and obsidian.
This was my mother's. She gave it to me before she passed away. I was to give it to my wife when the time came.
He looks at her. There is no order in his gaze, only expectation.
I don't know who I am here, among you.
And I don't know who I am without you.
He places the necklace around her neck. His fingers touch her skin. She closes her eyes. The silence between them speaks louder than any words. At that moment, a boy runs into the village. His face is bloodied, his eyes full of terror.
From the south! Horses! Lots of them! White men!
Everything comes into motion. Women gather their children, men grab weapons, warriors spread out. Someone lights a signal fire on the hill. Mezakoi runs into the circle.
Someone has shown them the way. There was a traitor here.
We must get the women into the rocks and meet the enemy below.
Could it be that the traitor is in front of us?
Coasati walks forward and stands between her brother and Clara.
If you touch her, you are no longer my brother.
Then you are no longer an Apache.
Horsemen appear in the hills. First silhouettes, then the glint of sabers and blue uniforms. Cavalry. The battle begins. Shots ring out. Sand flies into the air. Bullets tear teepees, earth and flesh. The Apaches fight bravely, with shouts of spirits, but the forces are unequal. Clara tears the cloth from her skirt, bandages the wounds of the wounded. She is no longer just a prisoner. She is part of this world. Coasati kills the officer, but is himself wounded in the shoulder. He bleeds to death, but continues to fight. Suddenly he sees two soldiers pulling Clara towards the horses. She screams, struggling. A choice, a moment. In front of him, his dying brother. Behind him, comrades in need of a commander. But his heart pulls in one direction.
The sand stays. The flame won't.
He rushes toward it. Bullets fly past. One of the soldiers takes aim. Coasati throws a knife. The soldier falls. The other one grabs Clara. She bites him. Screams. Coasati pounces, knocking him to the ground. Blow after blow. Then silence. Blood on the sand. Her and his.
Are you alive?
As long as you're around, yes.
They are lying on the ashes. There are screams all around, gunshots. But for them, there is nothing. Only breath, only eyes, only the necklace between them. When the fighting died down, the ground was covered with ashes. The cavalry had gone, leaving a bloody void behind them. The Apache village was nearly destroyed. The teepees were burned, the settlement was looted. The war had left behind not only destroyed homes, but the soul of a people destroyed. Coasati lay bleeding, barely alive. He could barely breathe, the wounds were too deep. He watched Clara take him aside, hiding him from the remaining soldiers. She led him to an abandoned mining camp where the workers used to live. The stone walls merged with the abyss of night. The cold wind was piercing. There was no life here, only shadows. But it was better than being among those who had lost everything.
You're not going to die. I won't let you. I'm healing you.
She knows how to stitch wounds, how to treat poisoning. All she needs is time and his faith.
You have to leave. You are not part of this world.
Do you think I'm afraid of what you call the world? I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of losing you.
She presses his hand to her chest, bandaging his chest. She sees his eyes darken with pain, but still she doesn't let go. Treats him as best she can.
You're not supposed to be here. You are not of this world. I am not of yours. You and I will not be found in both realities. We will be but a memory.
We have already become something more than memories. We have become part of each other.
Her words do not comfort him. He knows he may never be able to be with her in her world. He knows there was another path waiting for her, a brighter one, a less bloody one.
You can leave. Go where there is no war, no fear, where you will live. I can't be a part of your life. I can't be around those who killed my brothers.
You don't understand. I can't walk away. I can't forget you. I can't go to a world that won't accept me after what I've done.
Then we'll both stay in this between worlds thing.
She sits by his side, treating him night after night, but realizes that his wounds are too great. She has no power to save him, but all she can do is be there for him.
You're not going to die, Coasati. You will live. I will be there for you.
At dawn, when Coasati does open his eyes, he feels her close by. His body aches with pain, but inside something changes. He feels the warmth of her hand, and that warmth awakens him.
Why didn't you leave?
Because I need you. You are my destiny.
And in that moment, amidst the ruins, they realize that their bond is not just love. It's a struggle. It's the eternal change of two worlds that will never reconcile with each other. But now that he's alive, she can't leave him, even if it means they will both become ghosts of their worlds. Time passed. The wind seemed to carry everything away. The war, the loss, the fear, all became but an echo in the void. But the memory of what was remains, like sand in your hands. It does not disappear, but becomes a part of everyone who was able to hold it. Clara sat on the old wooden porch in the small house that stood at the very border. There were no wars here. Here was only the peace that seemed so foreign to her now. In her arms was a child, her son. His skin was dark like his ancestors, and his eyes full of question. She whispered to him the bedtime songs her mother had once sung, and the same ones she herself had heard from Coasati. In the distance, beyond the hills, stretched the vast prairie. The beasts had not returned here. All was quiet. Only the wind, when it came suddenly, was a reminder of those who had once been near. In the house, by the hearth, sat an old Indian, the same one who had told the story at the beginning. His eyes were tired, but the fire of memory still burned in them. He finished the story.
They called her a captive. He was called a savage. But in their hearts lived a love purer than any that surrounded them. And in the world they lived in, that love was all they had, all that was left.
He fell silent and looked quietly at the woman who sat on the porch. She was looking up at the sky, as if trying to see him. Coasati. Clara stood at the door and looked out into the distance. The dark horizon line beyond which Coasati had disappeared remained invisible to her. But she knew that somewhere far away, he was. His spirit was with her, and that was her whole life. She took the child in her arms and, whispering softly, headed for the house. With each step, her figure grew smaller and smaller, and when she disappeared into the shadows, only the wind remained as a memory of what had been.
That was their way, and in that shadow, among the remnants of the wind, they are alive.